The One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Hafaday, Mogathin, and Rananim. And welcome to the One Micronesia Podcast. Another week, another episode. And in this one, man, I'm excited. I honestly, I'm really, it's an honor to sit and talk with this guy, a young man out in Washington who's doing so much for the Pacific Islander community. And if you haven't seen the video that I shared of him and his speech on Instagram, well, you got to go watch it again, because it was just inspiring to see young people, young Micronesians, young Pacific Islanders stand up for something that they see fit to fight for. So, ladies and gentlemen, with me on the podcast today, I do have, man, like I said, such an honor to sit down and talk with this young leader. I do have youth organizer for the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington, Mr. Calson Tiweyang. Calson, thank you so much, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. It's a blessing being here. Thank you.
And we want to get to know you, so let's start there. Calson, tell us more about you.
Thank you for having me on. It's a blessing being here and being able to represent for our Micronesian community and our Pacific Islander community. My name is Calson Tiweyang, Chukies and Yappies. I'm 20 years old, currently a sophomore in college. I've lived in the state of Washington the majority of my life. Was born in Oregon, but moved here back in 2009. I've been living here ever since. I'm the only one out of 5 siblings that was born here in the States, so I always get that thrown on my face, being like the whitewashed kid. But regardless of just not even being able to touch the sand back home, still doing all I can for people here.
Tell us more about how it is, growing up as a young Micronesian out there in the States, especially in Federal Way.
Yeah, growing up as a Micronesian, I think growing up in Oregon at first, all the way from 2002 to 2009, I think in elementary school, the hardest part was identifying myself. Being one of the only colored kids in the classroom, it was I was questioning myself and my own identity at the time. And then that move forward all the way from Oregon to Washington into a more diverse, I think Federal Way is one of the most diverse cities in the nation. That was a complete culture shock to me, seeing kids that look exactly like me and stuff. And then I think just throughout the years, I started identifying myself better and more with more traditional values and stuff. Regardless of having always having the family stuff functions and whatnot, stepping into the real world in Oregon, it was just kids that weren't like me, and then Federal Way just hit. But moving forward into high school, that's when I met more of the PI kids, more of the Polynesians. Our Polynesian community is huge here. There's a lot of them. Same with the Micronesians, but in Federal Way, it's mostly the Polys. And so growing up as a Micronesian here was more so a blessing. I don't think it's like this anywhere else in the States, at least. You feel more I felt extremely welcomed here in Federal Way. I felt comfortable in my own skin to an extent, but it's still going. But just being a Micronesian in today's world, it's very hard because not a lot of people know about us, and so when they ask me what I am, we fall under an umbrella. We're not really identified as Micronesians to the white man. They'll label us as something else, just AAPI if anything, and then just assume we're some kind of Asian, and then we have to go through that whole explaining of Melanesian, Micronesian, Polynesian, and then I think just growing up, it was a whole lot of explaining who I am. It'd be a 10-page essay of, oh, I'm this, I'm Chukies, I'm Yappies. It got to the point where in high school I was just saying, oh, I'm Micronesian, because it just was getting a little bit too much to having to go in depth with it. But then outside of high school, once I graduated, I wasn't really in the community realm of work, and so I wasn't really identifying as much as I am now. And so it's just a whole learning process as being a Micronesian in the States. It's a big learning process.
Wow. I mean, like I said, it takes a lot, and I think it helps. It really helps when you grow up with the Micronesian community or Pacific Islanders as in general or around you in high school. I think it helps to help you kind of find tune and kind of appreciate who you really are as an Islander. So I think it would have been different, right? If you, would you say that if you were, let's say, in the you grew up somewhere in the middle of the U.S. where there's no Pacific Islanders at all, just you and your family, would have been different for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think environment is a huge thing. Uh, like had it not been Federal Way, me growing up here, I don't think I would have been able to identify and be as comfortable in my own skin as I am now. Like you said, like if it was in like the middle of the US, in the middle of nowhere with no other islanders, it would be like a shame, you know? Like it would just be like it would be engraved into my mind like, oh, I'm different. Like I would be more like I'd question myself more than I would ever anywhere else. If it was in that kind of environment. I think I'd be more fearing of others. I'd fear like being out, you know, like if you're the only different one, it's like it's that like sense of loneliness, I'd say.
Then I know there are those Micronesian kids living in the middle of the U.S. where there's literally no islanders who are like you said, are questioning themselves. And when with social media now, with your speech out and where they can see that there's a lot of young Micronesians elsewhere in the States who are standing up and really owning to their true identity. I think when you guys are doing that, you're also influencing and inspiring them to stand up, even though they're the only brown kid in that neighborhood or in that community, for them to like, hey, I'm brown, I'm Micronesian, and I'm proud because of these other young youth advocates all around the US who are doing the same. So I think what you guys are doing is very inspiring.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like there are a lot of like Chuukese kids, especially that are like Kentucky, like where a lot of my family is. Like you said, like that social media post and just social media in general is a huge thing now. And I feel like this new generation can like we can all collectively do our best to use social media to our advantage in terms of making each other feel more comfortable and just presenting ourselves in a way that we don't really see like without social media. Like for example, like if we're in a place, like if I grew up in Kentucky, I wouldn't see myself doing what I'm doing now, you know. But then with social media there and seeing like having the opportunity to see it through your phone and seeing what we can be, it's something else. And it's a blessing to be able to use social media as like a platform for all of us, like across the States, even if we're alone, even if we're surrounded. I feel like we use it as a sense of community. Same with all of our family, like Kentucky, like I said earlier. But yeah.
Calson, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the organization you work for. Such an amazing organization, the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington. We'll talk about that and what you guys are all about. All right, we're going to be back. We'll take a break. We'll be back. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast, brought to you by Docomo Pacific. It is better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Hafide, Mogitin, and Rananim. We're back here, One Micronesia Podcast. What a great talk! What an amazing and inspiring talk. We got to know Calson a little bit more and learn about how he fell in love, or how it all started for him, and how he grew up and how he found his way and really owning up and to being Micronesian. I think that's something that's huge. It takes a lot for a kid to actually just say, hey, I'm Micronesian and I'm proud to be Micronesian. I think that's one of the key things here. But he did, and we're gonna talk about the thing that he does for a living, and it's pretty crazy. 20-year-old, he could have been out doing college things and fun things, but no, he's concentrated on school and his work. And his work is a youth organizer for the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington. So, Calson, tell us more about this amazing organization that you work for.
So this organization I work for, the Pacific Islander Community Association, everybody in the office, we're all of PI descent. All of us look alike. It's really cool. But we have our office, which we established as our cultural home, basically. And we also work in both Western Washington, Southwest Washington, and Eastern Washington. And I believe this all just banged out within a year or two. And we center community power and just focus on furthering the wellness of our community, both physically, culturally, and socially too, as well. And we do have a lot of programs. The one that I am with is the Youth Council, the Pacifica Wayfinders. I work with them. I work with our youth council. We work with those youth, those PI youth. We have a lot of Marshallese, Polynesians, Melanesians, and we just center youth advocacy, youth leadership, empowering that leadership, and teaching them how to use PICA as a platform to begin their advocacy and just to fight for what they believe in. And with the Wayfinders, we also have our sovereignty farm. It's something cool that we have here in the States, just for us to get the opportunity in our youth council to learn how people did stuff back home. So for me, not being able to touch the sand yet, it's pretty cool. We learn how to flip the dirt and stuff, and then we just get our hands dirty over there in the farm. But right now we're taking a break because it's winter over here, so we're just waiting for the spring harvest. And then we also work with RCP. We're funded with them, Restorative Community Pathways. We work with a lot of we get referred youth into our program, and we just work with them to make individualized service plans and learn how we could help them as individuals. And unlike the other orgs or just non-PI orgs, we don't focus on the 1 year aspect. We focus on the lifetime relationship with these youth, and we focus on building their skill set and setting them up for the future and just long-term prosperity. And then with that is also the systems advocacy. We teach our youth that, and we also include leadership development for young adults, those that are college and up. And that's led by one of our workers, Brandon Takadena. And then we also have an inspired arts program, I believe. And that's just to gather all of our community artists, all of our Pacifica ones that are filthy at that aspect of things. For example, you, with the podcast and stuff, things like that, art, digital art, graphic design, just building, weaving, all those different things. And speaking of weaving, we have a program called Cultural Weavers, which is based, it's focused on our elders, and we treat our elders here as treasures, basically. And we treat them with respect. So we bring them into our office, we give back to them, give them a good time, play bingo with them, exercise, do little stretches. And then we also have a PFN program. We call it the Pacifica Food Networks. That's where I started. It was the food drives. We do it twice a month, I believe, 3 times sometimes. And it's just an opportunity for us to partner with churches, Pacifica churches, different orgs, different communities here. And then we just, hand all the food out. And then on top of that, we also offer rental assistance with our wellness navigators. And so basically, it's a whole lot of intergenerational mingling and respecting the culture while we're at it and pushing past all those barriers that we've been, we've pushed past, and just uplifting our community while we all do this together.
And I got to ask the question, how did you get involved in the first place? Was there a group of friends? You just felt inspired to do so?
The story of getting involved is kind of funny. The thing is, it's the reason why it's funny, it contradicts what I'm doing now, because the thing is, I didn't want to get involved. I didn't plan. It was COVID. I just graduated online. I was in a car when I did my graduation. And the funny part about getting involved was because of my dad. He found a Facebook post with Pika, Joseph Say, our executive director. He saw his post on Facebook and was one night he was like, Calson, get your friends together. We're going to go to this food drive. And I think we're going to pick up some boxes and drive it to all of our community. And then I was like, okay, sounds good. That sounds easy. And then so I got one of my friends, Koa. He spent the night. We woke up the next morning, drove to Malualand, this Seattle that Pika was doing their food drive at. And me and Koa stayed in the car. My parents got out because we just expected the boxes to go into our trunk. But then like we saw all these kids and like we're shy at the time. So we just tried hiding in the car. And my mom comes out of nowhere and then starts like banging on the door. She's like, Calson, get out here. You guys need to go move the tent. And then we come move the tent. And then we're like, okay, those are the boxes we're going to take with us to the truck. And then we just find out like, oh no, you're here to stay for like the 8 hours and hand this food out. And then that's just where it began. Fast forward like months, like around this time last year, Joseph gives me a call and then was like, hey, hop on the Zoom call. We're going to talk about our food distro. And then so I get on the call and then like we just go through it, talk about it. They asked me for my input. I was the only kid in there in that call, surrounded by my like the older people. And then they're like, oh, what do you want? Like what would you like to see in the food drives? And I'm just sitting there like, can we get some Spam? But and then he just called me into the office one day and then he was like, I'm going to hire you. And I was like, oh no, like I wanted to do this for free. And then he just explained to me a lot of things and like about how like if you're going to do the work, like you might as well get paid at it. Like you need to at least provide food for yourself on the table and then it'll keep you going. Like it's I didn't really expect community work to take lead to being burnt out or anything. And then like, yeah, that was the first step. That's how I got involved, was just first going past my ego, getting out of bed, going to that food drive, and then bugging the executive director of PICA to let me work under him.
It's really amazing how you went to one food drive and you got hooked. You wanted to do more of that, to give back to those who need it, especially our community. That's awesome, man. Calson, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about that speech, man, because that was one hell of a speech, bro. Well written, well spoken for. So we'll be back to talk about the speech that Calson did in front of the mayor and the consul of Federal Way. We'll be back with that. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast. We're brought to you by Docomo Pacific. It is better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Hafide, Mogisin, and Rananim. We're back here, One Micronesia Podcast. Man, this young fella here has done a whole lot, way more than me, in giving back to the Micronesian community. Calson, we got to know you a little bit. We talked about the organization that you work for, the wonderful Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington. But right now, we'll talk about that video that literally went viral with, I don't know, almost 1,000 likes. I believe last time I checked, it was at 15,000 views. Let's talk about that speech, man. Let's talk about, the issue that led you to take the podium.
So back a month or two ago, our mayor and some of the other South King County mayors, it was on the news. We saw it a couple months ago, and all we knew was that they wanted to start a coalition to fight crime here in our city, as well as the other cities around South King County or the ones that are surrounding us. And we didn't suspect much of it. It's just the mayor talking about fighting crime, nothing new. But then a month later after that, their coalition and their idea was to stop a program that we were working with, and a program that I personally and alongside a lot of other people had spent an entire year designing. And so just them targeting us and targeting what we stand for was more so a message of them saying that they don't believe in the restorative justice practices that we heavily uplift. And so that's when we just decided as PICA and our boss Joseph and our other youth organizers, we're not just going to sit here and let them throw shade at what we believe in and just what we know works. And just statistics alone even shows that restorative justice works. And so the issue with them was wasn't really the whole pausing thing. It was that was a big thing, that they wanted to pause the program that we designed, but it was more so them showing us their true colors and showing us that they did not stand for what helps community and what uplifts our people. For years on years, decades, and just it's always been a whole thing with systematic racism. And then with Pacifica people, we don't really know how the system works. We don't know how to get a lawyer. Like, we don't know all of these different things. And so that diversion program presented us with more opportunity than any other thing that we've had prior to this. Usually it's just, okay, we have a bad kid, but they're going to lock them up, and the kid might not even speak English. So that's why, like, this whole diversion program thing is a big thing. It presents them with the opportunity to understand what they did wrong, or what was deemed wrong. And then they also have the opportunity to grow from there with people that will understand them and just be able to work with them. And so that was the biggest issue, and that's why we came out, spoke on behalf of all of our youth. The like 2 weeks prior, maybe even a month, it was my boss that spoke first. He spoke at that federal aid meeting, and so we went into that meeting with one goal in mind, which was just to uplift all the voices that have been heard, all the voices and all the lives that were lost already. I think it was six lives that we've lost within 3 years to police brutality for Pacifica. And so that was for them. It wasn't just for us. It wasn't just for the organization. It was for everybody across the United States that are of Pacifica descent. And so that was our mission. It wasn't really an individual mission. It was a whole collective mission together.
I think when people watch your speech, when I watched it, I don't even know. I've never met or heard of Calson Tiweyang, out in the States. But when I saw that, I saw a young Micronesian, young Pacific Islander who knows what he's talking about, who's hurt to see that the mayor is doing something that's definitely going to affect him and his peers. So, like I said, the speech was just on point, and people actually felt your pain. Not just your speech, but everybody else. I went on and I hadn't watched the other speakers as well come on and talk about the issue at hand. So, man, that's crazy to hear that and governments will do that. At times where stuff's not working, they just start chopping off programs and stuff to save money, whatever whatchamacallit. But to see them kind of come at that program that you were just talking about is kind of crazy to see. I mean, you said it was helping and it helps a lot of youth out there to kind of like, not, of course they did wrong, but at least to know what they did wrong, so that way they can move on and do better.
It was more so just calling them out on their like true colors that they showed, and how they don't really want to invest into community and into the youth, like the ones that will be in leadership one day. Just to call them out on their own, like on that, all that stuff that people voted for them for, we all believed in one, like that they were good, but proved us wrong. In fact, like when we first walked in there, I think it's the council president, she questioned our Marshallese youth in the back. Me and Nuki, our youth leader, we were in the front of this, like we're sitting right in front of the mayor, so we couldn't see what was going on in the back. But then afterwards, like I guess when the meeting first started, before it began, our own city council president went over there and asked our Marshallese youth, like, what are you doing here? Like, that it was very like it was just a messed up way to present themselves, especially as a council member or somebody that represents us. It was just a whole lot of like hatefulness that we felt while being in that room, like from that beginning to the end of them just cutting us off completely. We're supposed to give him 5 minutes. Even before the meeting started, I asked our city clerk, do I have 5 minutes? I'm here for my org. I'm speaking on behalf of all these youth. And they told me I have 5 minutes. And then even before I spoke, when we were on the pause, because we have pauses at city council meetings, I went up there and I asked them again, like to clarify that I do have 5 minutes. And then we go up there and then they cut me off after like 3 minutes and like 30 seconds. And then they even said my name wrong, but it's okay. It's not okay, but like we're not done.
But it's awesome to see that you guys stood up for something and you guys went at them and presented your concerns. It's awesome, man. All right. Calson, we're going to take a break and when we come back, we're going to close out real quick messages, social media. You can throw out people work and people can follow your organization and stuff like that. So we're back with that. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast, being brought to you by Docomo Pacific. It is better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Hafide, Mogitin, and Rananim. We're back here, the last part of the podcast. We're still here with youth organizer for the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington, Mr. Calson Tiweyang. Calson, before we go, like I said, your video has 15,000 views, almost to 1,000 likes. There's a reason why the numbers are that huge, because what you did, the issue that you were confronting, and the way you delivered your message was beautiful and inspiring. So for those watching the podcast right now who've loved the video, loved your work, what message would you have for them?
Message that I would have is just believing in yourself. Just if you're going to speak with full confidence, even if you don't know what you're saying. Just confidence brings a whole nother meaning to the message and just shows more passion, if anything. And to just, we could do whatever we put our mind to. I don't think I even expected myself to be in front of a mayor and the city council, especially as a Micronesian youth. So just, mainly believing in yourself and that you have the ability to do whatever it is you want to do and stand up for whatever it is you believe in.
Wow, amazing. And then before we close out, where can people go follow either you or if you want people to go follow and learn about the organization you work for? Where can people do that?
For me on Instagram, it's @_O2CTT. And then for the organization on Instagram, it's PICA Washington. That's PICA and then Washington. And then on Facebook, our page for PICA is it's at Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington. It's a long name, but we're on there too.
Awesome. All right. Well, Calson, what an amazing, inspiring talk. Thank you so much. The time difference. Thank you for, staying up this late just to, jump on the cast here with me. Thank you so much. Before I go, any last and final comments?
Yeah, just thank you for having me. This is really cool. Just going from watching you and my dad sending your podcast episode from like 2 weeks ago prior to when I spoke, and then you reaching out. It just shows that even though we're literally seas away and oceans away, communities connect all through one, and it's cool to see like that we're able to connect. I'm here in Federal, you're all the way in Guam. It's really cool. Like we're all one people, and regardless of location.
Definitely. All right. Well, Calson, thank you so much. Continue to do awesome, man. Like I know you're going to do more and amazing things down the road. So continue to do that and continue to serve your community. So like I said, very inspiring, and it was such an honor to sit down and chat with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up another episode. Calson Tiweyang, ladies and gentlemen, youth organizer for the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington. We will see you guys on the next one. My name is Victorious, and all I got to say is peace.
The One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.